Continuing on my 112B, I've done quite a bit of work since the last video, and so I'm just catching up here and retesting and making the final adjustments before it gets packed up and shipped off to my client. One more time, I'm going to do the wound flutter test here, the flutter test. Just double checking everything, and then I'll do a speed test also. Done quite a bit of recapping and modifications, and I just want to double check it, make sure everything is right in line for him. So you can see a little bit better now on the top of the screen. I'm still working on that, but the flutter numbers and percentage here are in that 0.04 range, and I'm calling this on average about a 0.045, which is excellent. And while I'm here, I'll do a speed test also, and I'll do this speed test at a couple of different points on the tape. So right here on the upper right hand, you can see the percent, and then on the bottom where it says R+0 in the middle, that's the average over the time segment showing in the right hand. And so here we are at a different point in the tape, and it's a little bit higher. So I'll just go back and make a couple of corrections here. I'd like to get those numbers in the 0.03 to 0.012 range, or 0.12 range, not 0.12, 0.12 range. And my average, I'd like to see that, you know, in that 0.07 range. So I'll just make a couple of adjustments here. These are very finicky. I plan on making some modifications so that I can put a 25 turn trim pot on there. I'm working on that now. These are just so touchy. I'd like to have a little bit more range in the adjustment. And there we go. I think that's where I want it. Let's reset it. And let it run for a second. Get a 20, maybe 30-second average on it. I've run this deck now probably 20 to 25 hours, maybe, burning in the new capacitors and the new components and the new belts and everything. And so I just want to make the final adjustments on it. And 0.056 average, 20-30 seconds is excellent. And I'm very happy with that. So I'd like to make some frequency response tests here also. I'm going to use a new, or not new, but a freshly opened TDK SA. Actually, I've got a TDK-D, a TDK-SA, and a, what did I use on the metal? I used a Sony metal tape, Sony XR metal tape. And the video got a little bit confusing for me on making the spot frequency tests. But what I did do here at the end is included screen capture or photographs actually of the final frequency tests. But this is just how I do it. This is on the Sound Technology 1500A tape recorder analyzer, and I'm fast forwarding through the traces here, of course. So what I'm interested in here, I'd like to see the, zeroing it out, I'd like to see the frequency at 20 hertz. And you can see to the left of that, left and right channels are well within the plus or minus 3 dB envelope. And then just kind of looking through the frequencies on the way up, on up here to 20 kilohertz, again within that, easily within that 20 dB envelope. I don't honestly know if this was a type 1 tape or a type 2 tape on this test. It's kind of hard to do this and pay attention to the video and all that too. So, but like I say, at the end, all the results are there with photographs that I took of the actual screen and the traces, and I'll go through those quickly too. Yeah, I believe this is the chrome tape. Yeah, I'm redoing that one. The trace dropped off a little bit there. I didn't have the cursor inside the trace. Okay, so here we are. We zero it out. This is at minus 20 dB, but I'm zeroing it out so I can just look at the plus or minus. Okay, so at 21 kilohertz, or 21 hertz, 1.3 and 0.7, I think that was. I'm just kind of stepping through here and looking at the different spot frequencies. I still like to do a spot frequency rather than a spectrum test. This makes more sense to me. So there's basically my equalization on it, which is good. And again, one more time, 20 kilohertz, well within under 2 dB, and then just taking it out, extending it out there to 21, 22, still showing usable frequency. And here I'll do some distortion tests. Third order distortion. And the manual calls for doing this test at minus 10 dB. I'm going to do the first ones here at 0 dB. I find that more useful. And there you see the numbers on the top. The left and right channels are well within, not well within, well under the 0.2% or 2%, less than 2% number that the factory manual shows. This is 0.6 maximum and 0.5 maximum, so it's well better than the factory spec. Now I'll go back to the minus 10 dB that the factory wants, and I'm showing 9 dB here, minus 9 dB. It's really close to minus 10. It's right on the cusp of it. But there on the top, left and right channels, it's 0.11 point. It's just really good. Okay, so here's the actual traces after all the adjustments were done and finalized. Type 1, Type 2, Type 3 on the top rows showing at 20 and 20 kilohertz, 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz respectively on each of the tapes. And then the distortion tests on the 3 lower left ones. And then the right bottom one is just the correction I made on the metal tape on the left channel, is all that is. So the one we're most interested in, of course, is the chrome tape. And the Type 2, again, well within the envelope. Now the specs on these are on the chrome tape is 25 to 18 kilohertz plus or minus 3 dB. We're actually at 20 to 20 kilohertz plus or minus 3 dB. So we're bettering the factory specs by a fair bit. So there those are. And here's a little slideshow of how it turned out. Thank you for watching. And Gabriel, I hope you really enjoy the deck.